Run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. This is the ingeniously tough challenge created by former Navy SEAL and legendary ultra-distance runner David Goggins.
I'm back, motherfucker! Stay hard!
The self-styled hardest motherfucker in the world.
You don't know me, son!
It's a challenge that I've been drawn to for a long time, but through injury, rehab, and a lack of belief that I could actually do it, it's something that I just haven't done. Until now. Starting at 8 PM on a Friday night, I'm going to embrace everything that this 48-mile running challenge has to throw at me. And it took me to some dark places. This is gonna be very tough. Horrendous. So this will be run number 1. I guess I'm excited. I guess I'm kind of looking forward to doing this. I'm not necessarily thrilled by my fitness, but we'll give it a go. So my intention with my whole run is to go really slowly throughout. Just treat this whole weekend like I'm just training my aerobic base. I've also mapped out this route, which is a mile from my house. When I get to the mile marker, I turn home. It just means when I get to 2 miles, I'm gonna have a drink of water. Also means I'm just gonna get very familiar with this route. Okay, so that is run number 1, done and dusted. No great hardships there. That was done in about 46 minutes, so very, very slow. My running pace is about 11 minutes per mile. And the reason for that is that I do not want to get injured. It will mean that I spend more time out running, but I think this is my strategy for finishing this weekend in a strong position. Definitely feel like these night runs are going to be the hardest. And I'm talking like I've already done about 10 of these, but this is only run 2. The question I ask myself a lot is why you would voluntarily want to do a challenge like this. And I think it's all about testing your limits, pushing through the discomfort to finish something you weren't sure would be achievable. It's feeling noticeably colder than it was 4 hours ago. If you're successful, the confidence this gives you can ripple through into all areas of your life. And if nothing else, this whole experience running around my neighborhood for an entire weekend will become really memorable. One of the reasons why I'm running so slowly is that it's almost exactly 2 years since I had the worst injury I've ever experienced. I landed really badly on my ankle, and the result was quite serious ligament damage, which meant I couldn't run for over a year. I'm interested to do this challenge to see how my left foot bears up. That last 4 miles, I think I did in about 47, 48 minutes or something like that, which is super slow, but you don't get any prizes for speed with this challenge. Now I need to go and get some sleep. I'm going to try and get at least 2.5 hours sleep before we get the shoes back on again for run number 3. It's 3:48 AM. I suspect that this run in 24 hours time will be the hardest run. I certainly think that the hardest part of each run so far has just been starting. Once you're out the door, everything seems to feel a bit better. What makes starting these runs easier is that I'm nursing a broken heart. 7 days ago, my 2-year-old cat Cooper died suddenly from heart failure. As someone who's always adored cats, this hit me really hard, but I know from the bitter experience of losing my previous cat Billy just over 2 years ago, that the best thing you can do when going through the pain of loss is to keep moving, literally and metaphorically, to put one foot in front of another. My motivation for this challenge is high. Yeah, I can definitely feel the accumulated tiredness in the legs now. I'm hoping when the sun comes up, I might feel totally differently about things. But I have to say, these last 2 night runs have been a bit hard. It does make me feel a little bit guilty that I'm doing this, to be honest, because this is incredibly self-indulgent. This doesn't help my family in any way, shape or form, and undoubtedly come next week when I'm limping around the house, nobody is gonna feel sorry for me. Up until now, my diet's not been very well thought through, mainly just carbohydrates, and I'm using this as an excuse to eat anything I want.
Sun's out, start of a new day.
It just makes such a difference when the sun is shining. Oh yes. Everything seems slightly different now because the sun was coming up this morning, beautifully sunny day. This challenge now seems very achievable. It's a bit of a baptism of fire starting this challenge with 3 night runs, particularly that last one at 4 o'clock in the morning. But that was so nice to wake up this morning and find that the sun was shining, just made the run infinitely easier. At the end of this run, we'll be at the 20-mile mark. That feels like a significant milestone. Also, I think it will give me the belief that actually I can do this, because I have been worried up until this point, particularly during those night runs, nearly at the halfway stage, and that's significant as well. I was feeling a bit more positive this morning at 8 o'clock, and now I seem to have kind of sunk into a bit of a hole. I think it's just the tiredness is really catching up. But as predicted, it just gets progressively harder. You become more tired physically, you become more sleep deprived, so therefore each 4-mile run just gets harder and harder. Psychologically, I think what is quite difficult is that I cannot afford to get injured. I can't take any days off work. I have a very, very busy week ahead of me coming up. So in the back of my mind, I've got this nagging doubt that maybe I shouldn't be pushing myself too hard to do this challenge. That's not necessarily a good thing for something like this when you really want to be able to focus on the positives and believe that you can do it. In the back of my mind, I know that if it gets to a certain point, I just have to stop because I cannot afford to be either injured or too exhausted next week. Got my little friend with me. Let's go. I would bring Luna for some of the night runs, but she likes to sleep at night. I can't imagine she'd want to get up at 4 in the morning to come and run 4 miles with me. Don't go after the squirrel, Luna, don't go after the squirrel. Oh God. Shh. Shh. Holy moly. Luna, what an effect you're having. Oh my God. I jumped a mile when I heard that dog. That run was really fun because I had my friend Luna there. I did notice that she was quite exuberant to start with. She was definitely setting the pace and I was trying to catch up. But towards the end she was toiling a bit and I was dragging her. It was kind of like carrying a dead weight behind me, which is the last thing I need right now. But that was definitely fun. It made it far more enjoyable having my little furry friend. So I'm kind of two minds about this really. I think in some ways I'm in good shape. I'm halfway through. 6 more runs to go, 3 a night, 3 during the daytime. I know it's only going to get harder from this point on, and I know that I need to repeat exactly what I've just done, but on much tireder legs. But at this point, I'm feeling hopeful, I'm feeling confident, so I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to it, but we'll give it a go. This is going to be as much a mental battle as it is physical. The night runs for the first night were hard, and that's when I had fresh legs. Doing the night runs on tired legs is going to be really tough. After you've run and had something to eat and rehydrated, you have about 2.5 hours before you start getting ready for the next run. It's not really enough time to recuperate, recover, sleep. You sleep if you're lucky. It's a tough challenge for that reason, and I'm starting to really feel it. The legs, they hurt. Yes, very much they hurt. Not only do I feel tired in the legs, but mentally I'm pretty fatigued now as well. Run 7 done. But that is 4 miles closer to the finish line. 5 runs to go.
Four minutes to midnight. I'm under no illusions. This is the crux of the challenge. These next 3 runs in particular, midnight, 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. They're going to determine whether I can do this. I really don't want to do this right now. This is going to be a tough one.
Going into this 8th run, I wasn't in a positive frame of mind, and this spilled over into the run itself. My right knee is starting to hurt quite a lot, and I think I was starting to have a few doubts creep into my mind there. Oh, I've got this f***ing light shining in my face. I had to dig quite deep to kind of talk myself out of that and convince myself that I was okay to keep going. Yeah, I never doubted that this is going to be extremely tough. It's proving to be the case. Run 8 was the hardest run to date, and also the least enjoyable. The sleep deprivation is definitely affecting my mood, and I was aware that I needed a change in mindset to get me through the remaining 16 miles. What I need to go and do now is go to bed. It's going to be easier said than done trying to go to sleep because I am wide awake now. Switching off and actually going to sleep is something that I really struggle with, particularly when I know I've got to get up in a couple of hours and go and do this again. This is the first time I've ever set an alarm clock to go off at 20 to 4 in the morning in order to eat cookies and have a sugary drink.
This is the key run. This is the most important run of the whole challenge. Get through this one, it'll be daylight again. Only 3 runs to go. Definitely possible.
Here we go. This is run number 9. My watch came up with a warning before I started this run, just telling me that no workout is going to be good for me today. Mile 1 done. Nice slow pace. I would love to say I'm feeling pretty good. I just want to go back to bed. Ever since the 4 a.m. run last night, I've always been focused on the run at 4 a.m. on the second night as being probably the hardest run of the entire challenge. Nearly there. Now run 36 miles, so that's more than a marathon, and I can certainly feel that. Unfortunately, I have to do my next run in less than 2 hours because my son Jack has a football match which kicks off at 8:45 in the morning. Having said that, this last night run was going to be the hardest run of the whole challenge, I think possibly. This next one, because there's such a small gap in between these 2 runs, will be the hardest. This morning I've just put my shoes on, got out the door with minimum fuss just before I had time to protest. It's only been 3 hours since my last run, so I knew this was going to be pretty hard, but it's not dark anymore and there's only 3 more runs to go. Let's go. My training for this event has probably been running about 20 miles a week. I'm paying the price for that now because I have very painful legs. If I was to do this over again, I would certainly make sure that my mileage was a lot higher, and I've been training for a number of months beforehand. But I'm pleased that my general level of fitness has carried me through up until this point. This is as much a mental battle as it is physical. One of the main reasons that I wanted to do this was because of my cat Cooper, and I've been thinking about him a lot whilst doing this challenge. That's why it's kind of felt important to run some of the miles with Luna, because animals, my pets, mean so much to me. Good doggy. One way for me to deal with the pain of losing Cooper has been to just move, to just keep running. So I'm grateful to this experience for helping me get through a difficult time. The last mile of the penultimate run. Let me sort your ear out. There, that's better. You don't look quite so silly now. The hardest thing about this challenge is the 4-hour window which you have to run your 4 miles and then do everything else that you need to do. I found that the most important thing to do is to always make sure that I'm ready for the next run. So when I get in from a run, then I'll prep my shoes, my equipment, my clothes, and my cameras so that I don't have any faffing around when it's time to do the next one. 4 miles to go, so I'm gonna go and get rested, have something to eat, and start dreaming about the football match and the pizza that I'm going to be eating as soon as I finish this challenge. I think what's been interesting with the level of pain in my legs is that it gets to a certain point, but it doesn't really get any worse. If you can bear that, there's no reason why you can't keep going and going. You don't expect to run 48 miles and not be in some sort of pain. It's pushing through this discomfort that makes it all so worthwhile. 47 miles done. Last mile. It's the victory lap. David Goggins has created a really tough challenge with this 48-hour endurance event that tests you mentally as much as it does physically. Look at this f***ing light shining in my face. My heart was broken, and this partly hastened my decision to do this challenge, but I'm so glad that I did. Running has always been there for me in my time of need. Yes, Luna, we did it!